Okay, we're wrapping up the fourth week now, and the big thing with this week is getting done with the first essay. I've gone ahead and the essay's due on Friday, so everybody should have that down. And I've gone ahead and set the date for or the time for the end of the day on Friday. And I want to walk through the last stages of the draft process today. And again, it's a bit tedious and a bit boring, but it's absolutely necessary to make sure your essays kind of come together. And I want to make sure everybody knows how to, format everything and what you're going to need and all that kind of stuff and how to send it in. Okay. Also, I want to call everybody's attention to I put the due date on the calendar for the first grammar quiz. I kind of held off on that a little bit because I got behind on the videos, but also because I don't want you hassling with the Antigone essay while trying to get through all the grammar. So this allows you to get through the first essay, and then we'll be starting up Shoah on Monday. Okay, I'll have the Shoah calendar entered by Monday morning. So make sure you have that Shoah book. Everybody should have this on order from Amazon already. So make sure this is coming in. If you don't have it already, get it. I know there's one copy in the library, but I know there is already one person watching this video saying, haha, I got it. So they've got it already. Make sure you get this ordered. It's only like 12 bucks, I think, if even less. So make sure you get a copy of this and you'll be in good shape. You can't get through the Shoah unit without a copy of this book. Okay, so make sure you've got that. And the books are so cheap in this class, you should be able to do that without too much trouble. Okay, so let me go through a few things here. In the grammar quiz, by the way, I'm going to give you all day to get through it. So we're going to do it on Thursday. Make sure you finish up chapter 1, and you can get it all done over those few days and then get going on Shoah at the same time. So everybody should be in good shape with that. I'm probably going to make some adjustments on the overall calendar with grammar, but for now, let's just get through 1, and you've got the 2 videos up there. Okay, let me go through Antigone and show you where we left off. You might remember what we did in the last couple of weeks with developing the early stages in those PDFs, finding your quotations, developing your quotations, developing your discussions of them, and getting your basic analysis down. What I did was to go ahead and spend the last couple of days doing my own essay. And what I did, I decided on I'm just going to do 3 paragraphs because, number one, I don't want to steal anything from you guys, but also I need to get the darn thing done. So what I did, let me take you to what I had, and then we're going to put it together and pretty close to a final version. I'll walk through all that. So let's walk through what I had. And this is the middle draft stage of the Antigone one. Let me get rid of myself here. Much better. So let's walk through this. Now, last time I left off, we were going through the quotations, and I was moving them over to the middle draft stage PDF. And this is where it starts to look like an essay. Okay, and this is the first body paragraph. And this one is, you remember this quotation. I'm betting a lot of you guys took this quotation, and that's great. And you can make something different out of it. So we are only women, and I had my initial write-up of it. And what I've done here is refine it. So, but notice I've now set the context of it. Who is speaking to whom about what? So I put that in there, and then I got the quotation, and then I took my discussion that you guys saw before, but I refined it and made it a little bit better. Now I've got this. Ismene tells Antigone that they are helpless against the laws of Creon because they are women and unable to rebel against men. Again, it's the same basic ideas, but I'm developing it and refining it a little bit. I copied it and pasted it over, and then I refined it a good deal. Their royal bloodlines are not important and provide them with no hope of challenging or changing Creon's decree. The first time I wrote that, I had something about how even though they are related to Oedipus and Creon and everybody else, I didn't like that. So I refined it and said their royal bloodlines. I thought that was much more direct and clear. And that's gone on throughout this. I've refined things throughout, again and again and again. I still have the same basic ideas, but now they're reading better. There aren't so many typos. So it's the same stuff, I've just gone over it a second time. This is when a rough essay starts turning into a good one. Only when you take it over and then you start refining what you already started on. And then you start finding more things that are going on. And this is the analysis I came up with. Ismene demonstrates that her actions need to remain in compliance with the laws of Creon. And again, I copied and pasted the original over and then I reworded it. But her words ask for forgiveness of the dead as if she had offended them. She recognizes the authority of Creon as physically present in Thebes, but she also recognizes the position of the dead in her words and in her request to be forgiven. This is a much smoother writing. I've used parallels and other things to smooth it out and just make it sound better. So she's seeing authority in both the living and the dead. And that became important once I started to put it all together. I didn't know it at the time, but by refining this, I was setting up my thesis statement. I know that always happens, but I never know how it's going to happen. So that's what happened here. She expects both Creon and the dead to be merciful in their treatment, but she allows Creon to distance her from her dead brother based on her gender. Okay. So, and again, I copied and pasted the quotation over. That's what I did first. And then I copied and pasted the discussion over, and I've refined it. It's very much similar in its content, but I've refined it and made it better, and it reads better. All those typos I had before, they're gone, but more importantly, I've refined how these sentences work and the content of them, and I've refined the ideas in them. So that's the big thing, okay? So, just going through this, boy, I've got some pretty long sentences here. Ismene thinks that she and Antigone must remain quiet so that there is far less of a disturbance in Thebes over Antigone's actions, but also because she thinks her silence is what Antigone prefers. This is, again, I'm using a lot more parallels, and this structure, these sentences are much smoother. Ismene assumes that Antigone wants to defy Creon out of personal obligation to Polynices, and not in a manner that will be detected. Okay, that's a typo. Let's fix that. Boy, we found that thing. Oh, it's not a typo, it's a run-on. Antigone contradicts Ismene and makes it clear that she wants her own actions to be known because they are acts of defiance. And again, all of this is what I had before, but refined. I've reworded pretty much every single sentence. Basically the same, but far better. Cleaned up, but also improved in the content. Same thing here. And this was something I really started to add, and I'm working it into my thesis. Ismene does not understand the selfish nature of Antigone's actions. That's a big thing I'm going to say about Ismene's blindness. She doesn't see Antigone's selfishness. She doesn't see that, Antigone is not acting out of devotion to her brother so much. Her actions, however, are done for their brother's memory, but for her own need to be a martyr, to play the martyr in Thebes. I should say Antigone. By the way, usually try to avoid pronouns, where it works, because pronouns can often be vague, especially when I have two sisters here. I don't know which one I'm referring to with the her and the she's. So try to avoid it. Antigone, unless it sounds awful. Antigone demonstrates her callousness towards the fate of her own sister. Again, all of this is revised from before and developed. It's now reading much more like a body paragraph, and like a final body paragraph as an essay. And I did the same thing here. Again, I was working on this morning. Now, you might remember from the first video, I really liked this line. Ismene said, grief teaches the steadiest minds to waver, King. Ismene said that. And you might notice what I did this morning is I trimmed the quotation down. I thought it was too long. So I trimmed it down, but I didn't trim it down until I really had written for a bit. And now I have to actually change my line numbers. And remember, always keep your line numbers. This is 44, 45, 46, 47, 48. So I got to change this and finish cleaning that up. That's what I did this morning. I ended up chopping out. The whole reason I selected this quotation was because of this quotation right here. And I tried to keep it. I tried to do something with it, but you know what? Ouch, that hurt. But you know what? It's now a better body paragraph. It's working better. Even though that was the original reason for selecting this quotation, I didn't think it worked in the end, that being that long. I found enough in what I kept, and I developed it around that. Okay? So, and again, I keep going at the fact that Antigone is pushing her away and guilting her, while Ismene keeps missing the fact that Antigone is being so selfish. And so Ismene emphasizes her unity with Antigone through a shared sense of guilt and family bond, but Antigone insists that she is alone in her defiance. I'm going to add this right now, and feels no guilt, even though she is treating Ismene terribly and leaving her to suffer after her death. So I just figured that out. Antigone feels no guilt. Ismene constantly feels guilt. So I'm finding things in it, and I'm changing it as I go, and I didn't know it as I was working through the early draft stages. That's very important to keep in mind. You don't know things until you've worked them through. Now, I made a bit of a decision in that I know I'm stepping over other people's essays, and I want to minimize that, but I also just want to get it done. So I decided not to write a fourth body paragraph. You guys write your fourth body paragraph, okay? Kind of leave me to be lazy here and skip the fourth one here, because I think you get what I'm doing so far if I just do it with 3. So let me go down a little bit to the last page. So this would have been the fourth body paragraph. I had one, and I could just follow the same process and do it, but let's wrap this up. And then you get this. This is kind of funky. You're writing the introduction after you've written the body paragraphs. And that's what I've done here. And what I did is, you try to do about 2 sentences per body paragraph. Try. And it's should and about. It's not a rule written in stone. It's a rule of thumb. You know, and my thumb has a lot of smart things to say. Sometimes he's right, sometimes he's wrong, but usually knows what he's talking about. But kind of rule of thumb. And I broke my thumb on the first thing. I put this 1 sentence for the first body paragraph. This whole thing, I thought caught the full. What you want to do is get the facts that you're dealing with in the first body paragraph and the analysis. And I think I did that with 1 sentence. Usually it takes 2. At the beginning of Antigone, and I can't put this in italics yet because in PDF still, Antigone confronts Ismene with a demand that she choose either family loyalty or obedience to the state, but this demand is unreasonable. So the first part is the basic facts of that opening quotation. The second part is essentially the insight I give, which is that Antigone is being essentially somewhat selfish, but this demand is unreasonable under the current situation in Thebes and shows a lack of regard for Ismene's difficult position. How about I make it a little more clear? But Antigone's demand is unreasonable under the current situation in Thebes and shows a lack of regard for Ismene's difficult position and for the turmoil in Thebes at this time. So notice I revised it to cover that full body paragraph, and now it's kind of good. So it's 1 sentence. Usually it takes 2 to do this. Ismene, now I go to the second body paragraph. Ismene resists complying with Antigone at first out of obedience to Creon and a sense of inferiority, but she later decides that she should help Antigone. So that's the basic fact of it. Even though she often wavers and is indecisive, Ismene consistently tries to balance her loyalty to her family and state. So that's been going on throughout the body paragraphs, and it really gets clear there. So, and in the final body paragraph, it really gets important that Antigone is pushing Ismene away and insists that there be a division between them, while she swears loyalty to her dead brother. Ismene suffers her feelings of guilt and does not see the selfishness of Antigone's insistence upon her solitary death. So that's where I'm really adding in my ideas from the body paragraph, from the third body paragraph. And so now I've got a pretty good introduction here. So you just watched me wrap up the introduction. This does a pretty dang good job. It's not perfect, but it gives a good overview. I'm not getting much into Creon. I'm not getting into Haman, because my body paragraphs don't cover Haman and Creon that much. Haman shows up nowhere, and Creon Yeah, just sort of a little bit here and there, not that much. But notice the focus is on Antigone and Ismene. And then I get this. I get to try my thesis out. What's going on in all of my analyses and all my body paragraphs? Antigone's loyalty to her brother's honor causes her to sacrifice her loyalty to her own sister and shows that her motives are selfish. That's really my insight into Antigone. While Ismene struggles with her loyalty to her family and shows that her understanding of Antigone misses her selfishness. That's my first try at it. Now, writing a thesis takes a number of tries. And one of the things I noticed I missed here is that Ismene's guilt. And that was something I started to bring up as I revised that introduction and other things. It's the guilt. Antigone lacks it, Ismene struggles with it throughout. I want to try to get that into that same thesis statement. Let me try it one more time. Let me actually put them together first. Both Antigone and Ismene are close sisters who have suffered terrible fates. I'll put that in there because that kind of brings them together and makes you understand why this is so tense. But Antigone's loyalty to her dead brother's honor causes, there's my spelling, honor causes her to sacrifice her loyalty to her living sister and shows that her motives are selfish and shows that she lacks guilt and by selfish reasons, while Ismene struggles with suffers guilt feels guilty and struggles with her loyalty to her family and shows that her struggles with her loyalty to her family and cannot see the selfishness of Antigone's actions. Now, I want to be clear about something, that this is my thesis after going through the body paragraphs. That I think this kind of gets it. I still think this thesis can be refined, but I'm going to get another try at this. Now, many of you probably are sitting there disagreeing with me, and I want to tell you very clearly, that's great, okay? I still really see Antigone as kind of selfish. Many people like her and see her as being standing up to authority and other things and being strong, and she's all those things. You can take it however you want. This is your analysis. It's not an opinion. It's really your insight into it. And insights can cut in different directions. That's very important to know. Okay? So I'm seeing Ismene as being confused by her guilt, while Antigone is too solid because of her guilt and hurts people. You can see it very differently, but that's my thesis right now, and I'm sticking to it. So that's the way it is. And that's the way you should be. If your thesis needs to be different and should go in a different direction. And now I've got this PDF, and let me save this darn thing. I lost it last time. It crashed at the end. So now I got it saved. Now I want to start moving it over to a Word file. I'm going to do this kind of fast, and This is going to get to the formatting of MLA. Now this is my name. Let's put it here. I'll show you how it should be done. Do it in Times Roman and have everything. Let's put everything in Times Roman and 12 point. Okay, don't put it in 11. And everything should be double spaced. Make sure from the start, from the gun, everything is double spaced. You're good to go. So let's call me Dougie Schwartz. I'm in Joseph Pendleton, Joseph Pendleton's class for English 101, and the date is going to be September. It's going to be the 21st. That's how you write the date. Okay. Now I need to write the title. So big long title. It's not a very good one, but that's my title, and I'm sticking to it. Oh, nice spelling. So that's it. Now this needs to be centered. Centered, bang. You do not put the title in bold or in large type or in fancy type or anything else. Just have it formatted this way. Okay, and now I've got it centered. I want to throw it back over there. Okay. And again, I know most of you know most of this, but I'll tell you, having read essays over the years, I know most of you don't know a number of these things. So stick with me while I walk through all this, and I'll get you how to refine this and get this done. Now I want to just go back and grab my stuff and go on a copy and paste palooza. Copy, that's my introduction. Paste. That's the introduction. It's cool, it's done. Now I need to put the thesis here. And now what I'm going to want to do is still to refine this. I won't do that on the screen, but I'm going to set it up to get it ready for the final draft stage. And so I copy my thesis, if I can, and notice it's starting to look more and more like an essay. Let's indent it from the start and put the thesis there. That is, now I've got my opening page. Name, instructor, title, there's my introduction, and there's my thesis. So you have your introduction with your overview, and then your thesis is right here at the end. Your last sentence of your introduction is your controlling idea, your main point of the entire essay. Now my first body paragraph, it's going to start there. So notice how all this stuff we've been doing all along is to set this final move over to the final draft. And again, mine's only going to be 3 body paragraphs because I'm lazy. But we'll just move all this stuff over. Now this is the first body paragraph. This is me setting the context. Let's get the quotation in there. We are only women. And these are line numbers, by the way. Always remember, when we get to the next unit, we're going to be using page numbers. You will almost always, throughout your college career, use page numbers. Okay, and notice this. This has to stay this way. I want this bumped in 1 tab. Many of you, when you paste it over, it's going to come, well, yeah, it's right here. It's tabbed in right there. You can move this little thing right at the top there, like that, or you can often just bump this thing and it will move it over. So we want it in because it's 4 lines or more. 4 lines or more, we want it tabbed in. If it were fewer than 4 lines, and 3.5 lines is fewer than 4, at least the last I checked, so you would integrate that. But most of your quotations are going to be about 4 lines, and so that's good. So it's meaning, this is the description. I take this, copy, and this is easy. You know, this is just duh. And it is tedious, but boy, oh boy, when you get done walking through all this, it's like everything starts to fall into place, except for when you expand the PDF too early. So then you get the next one. I missed that I, but I'll come back to it. And I put this as the bottom of this. And something I want to point out is I've just copied over the first body paragraph. This is what it should look like. Now, you shouldn't normally have an extra return. This introduction just happened to go until the bottom of the page. It shouldn't. Boy, it should go up to that next one. Let's make sure. Yeah, there it is. So it's paginating it onto the next page. That's okay. But you set the context, have the quotation, and then the description and the analysis go together. That's what happens. They go together into one. They are not separate paragraphs. They're all one. We separated them because intellectually or cognitively, you think differently than when you're doing description than when you're doing analysis. Okay? And now, again, I don't need to do all of these, but I just want to give you an idea. You do the next one, and I'll just do 2 of these, just because I think you guys get it. You copy them all over. And I set the context for the second body paragraph. Now I need to move my quotation over. Let's see if we can get this to work. And yes, I know this is not exciting, but boy, it makes life easier than sitting there staring at the screen not knowing what to write. Okay, this one got pasted in at the margin. So what I can do to block quote it, because it is more than 4 lines, and you keep Sophocles' line breaks. I just hit this thing up here, and it tabs the whole thing in. Block quotations go that way. Now I hit the return, and make sure after the quotation you return to the margin. And so that's how that works. And now I got the description to come over. And now I've got to put the analysis starting right down there. So, and again, I feel like, who's that guy in the paint show who does the painting really slow and he talks slow? I'm feeling like him right now. And there it is. There's the second body paragraph. I set the context, indented, set the context, no extra spaces in between. I have the quotation. That's my evidence. And then I have my discussion. Notice I do not indent the discussion because this is all one paragraph. So all this is my discussion. And then it goes into my analysis at the end, not a new body paragraph. This is all the analysis at the end. And then I just have to paste the third body paragraph, and then I'd have the whole thing. Let's skip pasting the third one. Let's act like I already did it. What I would do now at the end is write a conclusion. What you do at the conclusion is turn the introduction on its head, is essentially what you do. You rewrite your thesis. Let's look back at that thesis. I can steal the thesis again. I should revise it a little bit better. And then you just basically summarize the insights, your analysis. You don't need to summarize the whole play again. The introduction needs to give an overview of the whole play that you're going to use and give your insights. The conclusion just needs to focus on your insights. So the first thing is going to be the thesis, and you should revise it a little bit. Okay? Antigone and Ismene are close sisters who have suffered terrible fates. But Antigone's loyalty to her dead brother's honor causes her to sacrifice her loyalty to her living sister, and shows that she lacks guilt and is motivated for selfish reasons. Are close sisters who have suffered terrible fates. Who have lost their families. So I'll make it a little more specific, but you get the idea. Refine the thesis at the end a little bit, and then you've got your thesis at the top. Antigone has pressured Ismene from the beginning of the play to choose family or city or her loyalty to her family or obedience to Creon. But this is this shows Antigone's selfishness from the start. And then I can put something about Ismene missing her selfishness. And that would be the conclusion. and then I've got an essay. The last thing missing is the works cited. Let me do that really quickly. And we've got a little bit of a funky situation because, and let me put the camera back on here and walk you through this. This is the, you know, the reading, and it doesn't really have all the information on it. I believe this is from the 1930s. So we don't have everything, and we don't have page numbers, and we don't have a lot of stuff. So let's do our best with it, okay? So this is how we're going to do it for now. With Showa and the other things, we're going to do it more thoroughly. For this, for now, is good enough. So I'm going to hit Control Enter, and that puts me on a new page. Control Enter does that. Work cited. Little thing is that you put works cited because we only have one thing. And let me center this. I centered that. Now here's how you do the rest. I throw it over left justify. This is, normally you have last name, first name, but all we have on Sophocles is Sophocles. And we have the play. Antigone. That's it. Translated by Dudley Fitz. I believe this is right. And Robert Fitzgerald. These two guys are, by the way, extremely famous. Very famous, even though their names, yeah, Dudley Fitz and Robert Fitzgerald, classicists. So when they did this, they made it, it's now being made available for free. I think these guys are very dead. So, and let's go ahead and call it a PDF. PDF. And let's go ahead and say it's available through Victor Valley College. And give them credit for publishing it. Okay. Now, this is the thing with it. If you go onto a second line, the second line is indented. But that's often hard to do because if I hit Tab, the whole thing tabs. So we don't want that. If I hit Enter, it puts a hard return there, and then I can tab it. That puts the second line in. So notice this hangs off in that manner. That is basically what you want to put together for your essay. So, and put the title in italics, and you basically got it. So on this one, I'm going to be a little bit rough with it. On the works cited, we're going to be a little more stickly with the Showa one. I'm going to go through it in more detail. The problem is because we're using a PDF that only has line numbers and doesn't have page numbers, doesn't have all the publishing data, and all those things, we're going to be a little bit looser on the works cited. But get this, get the author, the title, the translator, put Victor Valley College as the publisher. Just put the publisher and then put a PDF. I don't have the year. I believe it's like 1936 or something like that. Not sure. That's okay. But the rest, you should have all those elements I went through. Have the introduction that does the overview, then get the thesis, then get the first body, set the context to have the quotation, discussion, analysis. Set up the context, quotation, discussion, analysis. You're going to have that for 4 body paragraphs. So you're going to have 6 altogether, introduction and conclusion plus 4 body paragraphs. And get that to me by the end of the day on Friday. And that'll leave you in good shape, okay? So again, I'm sorry it's a kind of a long, boring video, but I want to make sure everybody's got the nuts and bolts of the essay down and knows how to put all this together. Save it as an RTF file. Do this at the end. So when you save it at the end, save as. Do it this way. Save as. I can save it on, I don't know, save it on my desktop. And watch this. Most of you guys know how to do this. I'll call it my Antigone essay. And by the way, I should be clear that now that I've copied it over, I still have a lot of refining to do of my writing. I still do. And I might make a last second video to make sure you guys have all this stuff here. Let me get rid of myself so I don't stick my head in the camera again. And then go here. Notice this, don't send it in as a PDF. Do not send it in as a PDF. Go down to rich text format. Almost all computers have this as all word processing files have this. So if you have Pages on Apple or XWord or whatever it is, it's going to have this. Save it as a rich text format. Save it that way and send that in as an attachment through the course messages in the class. So you go to course messages and send it in that way. So create a message, and I'll send it to myself. And then you just attach it this way. And then I'm going to browse through my content, get it through, well, I'd have to get it off my computer and attach it and submit, and then I'm good to go. Okay, so that's what you got to do with it. Send it in through this, through the course messages, and that will get you set. Okay, so I hope that's clear with it. Due by Friday at the end of the day, and then we'll start up the grammar and the Showa. All right, take care, folks.